Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Maria Pawlicka and here we are going to talk about myths, lores, urban legends and all things supernatural. If this sounds like your kind of thing, feel free to subscribe. Today we are going to talk about cats. Do you like cats? Do you find them suspicious or maybe cute? I think they're a little bit of both, and that's what makes them subject to various superstitions. In Japan, there are several beliefs about supernatural cats, but in order to understand them, we have to talk a little bit about yokai. What, or shall I say, who are yokai? Some people translate the word yokai into a demon, but it's not what yokai really are. In order to comprehend what these creatures are, we have to realize that they are neither good nor bad, but they are definitely supernatural. Some yokai are born this way, others become yokai later in life. How does it happen? Firstly, we have to understand that in Japanese beliefs in supernatural, the age plays a significant role. What age? It's hard to say. Some sources stated that it takes 100 years for something to turn into yokai. But we have to understand that we can't take this number literally, because it's more metaphorical, and 100 in this case means just a lot of time. Not only animals become supernatural beings, also common household items, places, or even people can become one. So yeah, it means that you can become yokai when you grow up. What do yokai do? Usually they just mind their own business, and sometimes their paths cross with humans. This kind of interaction might end differently. Usually if you are nice or indifferent towards yokai, they won't harm you. Sometimes they even may be grateful if you are helpful to them. Fox yokai kitsune are well known for their gratitude towards humans that help them. Some yokai may cause disturbance just for the fun of it, others really don't like people and they may harm or even kill them. As all supernatural creatures, yokai have their own powers. Some can shapeshift, others cause natural disasters, bring luck or doom. With cats, things are complicated. If you are good to your kitty, it may bring you luck. But if you treat your kitty badly, be sure you will regret it. There is a separate term reserved to supernatural cats. It's kaibyo, and we can translate it as strange cats. Why do you think there is a lot of supernatural cats? Well, we can attribute it to their own characteristics. For example, their irises that change shape depending on the light, the fur that sometimes tingles when you pet them due to the static electricity. They are sometimes seen licking blood. They are really quiet. They can walk without making any sound. They have sharp claws. And they are really agile and fast. Not to mention they are really nocturnal creatures with their own character and temperament. One of the most famous cats is Maneki Neko, and you probably have seen this cat a million times in Asian shops or other services. And this cat is supposed to bring luck, good fortune and money. The cat we know now as Maneki Neko once belonged to the beautiful courtesan. This beautiful courtesan took the cat everywhere. And the cat was her companion even when she has clients. And one day, she was with a samurai. And the kitty acted kind of strange. When she was with the samurai, the kitty tried to pull her away. He never acted like this before, so it was weird. But the samurai, who is a dick, by the way, he was annoyed by that. So he took out his sword and he cut this kitty's head. And then the kitty's head flew and caught a snake that was hiding in the ceiling. And it became clear that the kitty had nothing against the samurai, but it was trying to protect its lady. So the courtesan was really heartbroken over her loss. And she cried all the time. And I hope she sued this stupid samurai for animal cruelty or something like that. I really hope that. But back to our courtesan. So of course the lady was devastated, heartbroken, and she buried her cat with honors. So the cat was like, "Oh no, I'm dead, but at least I had a nice funeral," said no one ever. Anyway, one of her clients wanted to cheer her up. So he was thinking hard, what can I do to cheer her up? And then he was like, I know, I have to make her a statue of her cat, made of wood. Surprisingly, it worked, and the lady was really happy, so she was carrying this cat figurine with her everywhere, and she was spreading the story of her heroic cat. And then she became famous and well known in her society, and the cat became a symbol of good luck. As I told you at the beginning, Japanese cat turned into yokai at certain age, but it's not 100 years. So at what age does cat turn into yokai? Well, it depends on the lore. Some say it's after 7, others it's after 10 or even 40 years. Can you avoid that? Yes, you can perform a special ceremony during which you are feeding your cat red azuki beans and some fish, and after this ritual your cat is supposed to go away. But what if you want to keep your cat and not lose it? Well, you have to cut its tail in order to prevent the cat from turning into supernatural beings. But I bet nobody asked cats. Maybe they want to become supernatural creatures and, you know, overpower people. Anyway, your magical kitten may turn into one of two things: Bakeneko or Nekomata. What's the difference and which one is worse? Let's start with Nekomata. How can we decide if our cat is Nekomata? Well, we have to look at its tail. If it's split in two, well, we have Nekomata on our hands. And it's not really good because one of the most important characteristics of Nekomata is that it eats people. Some Bakeneko do that too, but it's mostly a Nekomata thing. While Nekomata seems to be really dangerous, Bakeneko is more like a fun cousin. Bakeneko love to fool around. They are often seen dancing with a towel on their heads, and they like to play tricks. They can walk on their two paws and they can speak human voice. They can turn into humans, and the fun part is they can manipulate the corpses. That's why to this day in some Japanese regions the cat is kept away from the dead. But we will talk about Bakeneko later, and now let's go back to Nekomata. Let me show you one of the earliest drawings of Nekomata. Here it is, the creature standing on two paws with a towel on its head. But you can't trust the towel because it's sometimes also attributed to Bakeneko. So in order to differentiate those cats, you have to always look at the tail. It has to be split in two. There are two types of Nekomata. The ones that live in the mountains, and the others that once were ordinary household cats, but they turn into Nekomata with age, and they run away to live in the mountains. But it's not always the case. Sometimes the kitty just gets lost and it goes to live in other cats in the mountains. Nekomata first appeared in Japanese literature in 13th century in a diary written by Fujiwara no Taika. There is a mention that on August 2nd in Nanto, Nekomata killed and ate 8 people in one night. This creature was described as a mountain beast with cats-like eyes and a body as huge as a dog's. In another source, an essay written by a monk in late Kamakura period, there is a line that says, "In mountain recesses there are those called Nekomata, and people say they eat humans." We can observe that in later periods, Nekomata tends to be larger. Its body is described as large as wild boars, lions or leopards. In story from 19th century, Nekomata was so big that it can hold a dog in its mouth. Some argue if Nekomata is really a cat monster. Why? Because there was an illness called Nekomata disease and people could suffer this illness. And because of that, it was sometimes believed that Nekomata is just a beast that caught rabies. In Kaidan collections Tono Igusa and Sorori Monogatari, Nekomata conceals themselves in the mountains, and there are stories that deep in the mountains the Nekomata change itself into a human and live in a house. The shape-shifting abilities are topics of numerous stories, and we can divide them into two major categories. The stories about the wronged cats that live in the mountains, and the stories about Nekomata that cause destruction and trouble just because. Let's start with the first category and come with me to the house of the wronged cats. It was believed that the cats that were hurt or chased away by the humans would become bloodthirsty beasts and run away to live in the mountains. It was said that these cats live in an old house among their kind and they feast on human flesh. There was a story about a traveler who got lost in the mountains, and when he was looking for the shelter, he found a cottage where only ladies and children lived. He was kinda weirded out, but what the hell? He needed a shelter, so he invited himself in, and the lady said, "Okay, you can stay here." And they showed him a small room near the kitchen. So he was getting ready to go to the bed, and then an old lady came to him, and the lady said that she was once a kitten that his grandma adopted, and the grandma was really nice to her, but she, the kitten, got lost and couldn't come home, so she lives now in the mountains, but she likes the guy because his grandma was nice to her, so she wanted to warn him. And she said that he has to run away because every other cat here hates humans and they would eat him. So she showed him a secret passage and the guy ran away. But the cats quickly realized that he's running away, so they were chasing him until he ran to the river. And when he crossed the river, the cats stopped. A similar legend takes place in Yamaguchi Prefecture. There was a bad lady who was hurting her kitty. She was hitting this kitty really often. And only one lady servant was really nice to the kitty and took good care of her. And one day this abused kitty got lost. Just disappeared. Poof, no kitty. And the lady servant was really heartbroken because she really loved that kitty. So she decided to go and look for the kitty. So the lady packed her bags and she went to the mountains to look for the kitty. When she was almost there, she saw a huge, elegant mansion and a beautiful dame standing in front of it. And she went up to the lady and she said, "Listen, I'm looking for my lost kitty. Can I stay for the night because it's getting kind of late? And the elegant miss said okay. So the servant lady stayed for the night, but she quickly realized that she's now not in some mansion of rich people, but she got to the kingdom of the stray cats. They didn't hurt her though, because she was always polite to cats, so they were polite to her back. She also met her beloved kitty, but this kitty didn't want to come back with her because it was happy where it was. When the servant lady was leaving, her beloved kitty gave her a small bundle. It was a white bundle, and it told her that when she met a bad cat on her way, she should wave this bundle and the cats would let her pass. But she can't open this package until she gets home. So the lady went on her way, and she of course met some angry kittens, but thanks to the bundle she didn't have any problems. When she got home, she opened this small packet and she found 10 pieces of gold and small dog figurine. And now suddenly she was rich and she didn't have to work anymore, so it was great for her. When the bad woman, the previous owner of the kitty, found out what happened to the servant, she wanted to get rich too. So she decided to pay a visit to her ex-cat. But she was kind of clueless because she didn't think that her behavior made her persona non grata in the house of the stray cats. So when she got there, the cats just beat her to death. So we have happy ending here, you know? Let's hear some stories about cats who did bad things just, well, for kicks. First story is connected with the Nabeshima clan. There was a beautiful lady called Otoyo, and Otoyo was Prince's lover. And one night a cat came to her chambers and then it ate her and took her appearance. So the prince, who liked his girlfriend very much, he visited her often, but suddenly he started getting sick. And every time he visited Otoyo, he was more and more sick. So they called the doctors, they called the monks, even exorcists, but nothing helped. Finally, they separated the prince, and the guard was standing in front of his door all the time. But something strange happened though. Every night, the guard suddenly fell asleep, and in the morning, the prince was even more sick. Young vassal Ito was very worried about the prince, so he volunteered to join the guard, but they didn't want him to do that because he was from lower class. But finally they agreed because he swore up and down that he won't fall asleep. So on the first night he started drifting away, so he took out his sword and he was cutting his thigh in order to stay awake. In the middle of the night, beautiful Otoyo appeared and she wanted to visit the prince. Ito wouldn't let her do that, and he quickly realized that the now angry lady isn't really a lady, it's a cat that took her appearance. So the cat was killed, the prince recovered, and Ito was rewarded. Ginger cats were the most suspicious to people, and they warned each other against them by telling stories like this one. So there was a samurai who found a ginger stray kitty, and his mom really liked this kitty, so she kept it. One day the pet disappeared and the old lady, samurai's mom, started behaving oddly and avoiding light. Shortly after that, 2 servants vanished, and another servant who was digging in the garden found their bones. But the old lady, samurai's mom, told him to keep his mouth shut, and he realized that something is not right, so he took off as soon as he could. But the secret was soon revealed when the neighbors told the samurai what they saw. And what did they see? Well, his mom on her knees. And it's not what it sounds like, because I know where your mind is going right now. She was kneeling near the stream and she was washing her bloody mouth. And when she heard the dogs, she ran away and even jumped the fence. So the samurai finally connected the dots and he sent the dogs after his mom, aka the cat, and the dogs finished her off. Another samurai noticed that his mom was behaving strangely and she was eating a lot of raw meat. But he wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. Until the traveler came to his house and told him a weird story. So this traveler was walking near his house and then a lot of cats jumped him. And he managed to climb the tree and escape the cats, which is kind of weird because cats are magnificent climbers. But anyway, he was on the tree and he heard that the cats were talking to each other. And they were talking about an old lady from the next house and that the old lady would manage to take the guy down and they could eat him then. So the cats decided to go and get this lady, and soon the big red cat appeared, and this big red cat jumped on the tree and the guy managed to take out his knife and he cut this cat over the left eye. The cat ran away, the guy jumped off the tree and he went to the nearest home to tell the story. And it was samurai's house. So the samurai finally realized what's going on. So he called his mother, and when the mother came down, he saw that she had a bandage over her head. And she claimed that she fell down the stairs, but the samurai wasn't paying it. So he grabbed his sword, and then his mom turned into a red cat and she jumped out of the window. As the result of this kind of stories, Japanese people were suspicious of strange cats and they won't keep a cat for a very long time. In a book, Yamato Kaiki, which we can translate as Mysterious Stories from Japan, written by an unknown author at the beginning of 18th century, we can find the story about a samurai whose house was affected by some paranormal activities. People that live there noticed some poltergeist-like activities, so the samurai called monks, priests, shamans and other charlatans, but they can't fix the problem or they can't even locate the source of these activities. One day a loyal servant saw his master's old cat, who was carrying a shikigami with the samurai's name written on it. And let's stop right now. What the hell is shikigami? This term is used to describe kind of gods that was represented by a small ghosts, and it originated from a practice called Onmyodo, and it was basically natural science, astronomy, magic and divination. And in Japan there was separate ministry that took care of this kind of affairs. So the person who's doing this kind of job was called Onmyoji, and this Onmyoji would use shikigami to do magic, and they were conjuring shikigami to do their biddings. So we can compare the shikigami creature to familiars, demon servants or genies, for example. Back to the story. So the servant saw this cat with shikigami in its mouth, so he grabbed a bow with a sacred arrow and he shot the cat in the head. And then when the cat died, all weird activities stopped. Cats, especially Nekomata, were associated with death. They were accused of raising the dead of necromancy, and they were said to manipulate the corpses by doing a special ritualistic dance where they used their paws and tails to manipulate the cadaver. Also, necromata were associated with strange fires and weird occurrences, for example, stealing the corpse from the funeral. The older and the more abused this cat prior to the transformation, the more powerful it will become. To gain revenge towards those who wronged the cat, necromata may haunt them with visitation from their dead relatives. Necromata, like Bakeneko, can also assume human appearance, and they really like to be old women who behave badly in public. So when you see an arguing granny, it may not be a granny, it may be necromata. These ladies who were necromatas, when they were traveling, they would bring gloom and sorrow everywhere they went. But there was one good thing that came from all these beliefs. It was said that if you kill a cat, your family will be cursed for 7 generations. And I think we should still believe in that. Now let's talk about Bakeneko. How cat became Bakeneko? And how can we tell if it's Bakeneko and not an ordinary cat? In general, it's believed that after 13 or 14 years, a cat is transformed, but in some regions it's 7 years, and it's believed that after the 7 years when you raise the cat, it would turn into Bakeneko and it would eat you. Because of the superstitions in some regions, people decided in advance for how long would they be raising a cat, and it of course caused many problems for the cats. Cats become abandoned or worse. Because of that, we have a lot of stories not only about cats that were aging, but also about cats that were seeking revenge against humans. Abilities attributed to Bakeneko are various, including shapeshifting into humans, speaking a human's voice, wearing napkin or towel on its head, dancing and walking on 2 feet. They can also curse people, manipulate the corpses. They sometimes go to the mountains and convince wolves to attack humans with them. Some Bakeneko have weird desires on Aji and Oki Island. There is a story about Bakeneko who shapeshift into human in order to take part in sumo fights. In some stories it's said that the cat that lives for 10 years or longer would speak human voice, but if the cat was born from the union of a fox and a cat, it would start talking even faster. And Bakeneko also like to shapeshift into older women. I don't know why. One belief about Bakeneko is that they lick lamb oil, and it's even mentioned in one of the Edo period encyclopedias. It's stated that the cat who's licking oil is an omen of an impending strange event. Although it might sound strange that cats may want to lick lamb oil, we have to remember that in early period people used cheap oils to burn their lamps, and often they used sardine oil. And what's more, Japanese diet was mostly vegetarian. They eat veggies and grains, and cats were fed leftovers. So cats who are carnivores, they lacked fat, meat and other minerals, so they licked this oil in order to supply themselves with nutrition. Although if you see a cat who's standing on its 2 feet and licking lamb oil, it may seem eerie and unnatural. Also, in Japanese culture, disappearing objects are connected with supernatural activities. So when the oil was missing and there was a cat, they didn't think that, oh, cat leaked this oil because it was hungry. They were thinking, oh my god, it's yokai, run! Cats' tails seem to be really suspicious to human race, so it was believed that the longer is the tail, the more powerful is the cat, and the better it is in bewitching people. So people preferred cats with short tails, and it's speculated that because of that there is a lot of cats with short tails in Japan, because natural selection favored those with short tails. Not only in Japan, people believed that cats were responsible for strange phenomena. In China, it was said that a cat that was raised by humans for 3 years would start bewitching them. Cats with white tails were believed to be the best at bewitching, and in result, no one wanted to raise them. It was believed that this magical power comes from the moon, and because of that, it was said that if you see a cat that is staring at the moon, you have to kill it on the spot, whether its tail has been cut or not. Now let's hear some stories about Bakeneko. The most known one is the tale of the Nabeshima disturbance. So the story goes, there was a daimyo who's a feudal lord. His name was Mitsushige Nabeshima, and he liked to play the game of Go. He liked this game so much that he had his private opponent, and this opponent's name was Masashihiro Ryuzoji. They played Go together all the time, but one day Masashihiro displeased his feudal lord, and this feudal lord had him killed. When Masashihiro's mom found out what happened, she was obviously miserable. So she went to her cat. Then she confided in her pet, and then she committed suicide. When the cat licked her blood, it turned into Bakeneko. When the kitty gained Bakeneko power, it went to the castle and it was tormenting the feudal lord and his family until one night it was killed by Komori Hanzemon. Is there any truth to this story? Historically speaking, the Ryuzoji clan was older than the Nabeshima clan, and the Nabeshima clan, remember, is the clan of the feudal lord. After the death of the head of Ryuzoji clan, Takanobu Ryuzoji, his assistant Naoshige Nabeshima held the real power. But another tragedy struck the Ryuzoji clan. The grandchild of Takanobu suddenly died, and the father of this child committed suicide. Remaining members of the Ryuzoji clan created public disturbance near the Saga castle, and in order to pacify Ryuzoji spirits, Naoshige built a temple. This event is considered to be an origin of this Bakeneko disturbance, and the Bakeneko is an expression of Ryuzoji's grudge. The inheritance of power from Ryuzoji to Nabeshima wasn't an issue, but because of sudden deaths, it became ghost story, or kaidan as those stories are called in Japan. The legend was turned into play titled Hana Sagano Nekoma Ishibumi Shi, and it became very popular. In the title, the word Sagano is a pun on the word Saga, and Saga was the name of the castle where Ryuzoji clan created disturbance. So the Saga domain complained, and quickly the performances stopped. Did it stop the story though? No, of course not. It just made it worse, and the gossips about the Bakeneko disturbance spread even more. After that, the tale was widely circulated in society and even in historical books. In some accounts, it was Ryuzoji's widow who told her sorrows to the cat, and it became Bakeneko in order to kill Komori Hanzemon's mother and wife. Then it took their appearance in order to cast a curse upon their family. Let me tell you another legend of vengeful but righteous cat. There was a headman of Kamo village, and the village had some problems with money because its crops failed. So the headman borrowed some money from a rich guy. And he paid his debt, but the rich guy, who was a dick, plotted against him and he falsely accused him of not paying. In despair, the headman soon died. The land, which has been collateral for the debt, was soon confiscated by the rich guy. When the headman's wife Omatsu tried to complain to the official, she was turned down because the wealthy man bribed the official. Then she tried to complain to the feudal lord, but she sadly failed again and was executed, which is kind of weird to be executed because of complaint, but okay. The calico cat that she had raised from the kitten became Bakeneko in order to avenge her. The Bakeneko hunted the rich guys and the officials' families, and it ruined them. Omatsu was deified for her bravery, and also her calico cat was deified. It even got its own statue as a guardian cat, which is kinda extraordinary because Komainu guardian statues are usually lion-dog creatures. Because the legend says that this cat sought vengeance for an unfair judgment, it's believed that its statue grants favors to those who take part in competitions or tests. That's why we can see a lot of kids that are praying there during the exam sessions. There are also heroic cats that save people's lives, and one of the most famous one was written down by Lafcadio Hearn, and it's titled The Boy Who Drew Cats. In the story we have a poor boy who was sent to the monastery by his family. He was a good student, but he has artistic soul, so he got distracted really often. And when he felt the need, he used to draw cats everywhere. He drew these cats even on sacred scripts. Monks who were annoyed by his action warned him, but finally they were fed up and they told him to go away. So the boy went away, but he was really ashamed and he didn't want to go home. He decided to go to another temple, the bigger one. When he got there, he saw that the temple was empty, but the candles were still burning, so he decided to wait for someone. When he was waiting, he saw a paper curtain and he couldn't stop himself, so he drew a bunch of cats on this curtain. Then he heard a strange noise and he remembered that one time his old master warned him against staying in spacious places. The boy quickly hid. He found a small room without windows, he closed the door behind him and he tried to be quiet and motionless. Then he heard a rumbling followed by screech and moans. He was shaken, so he stayed in hiding till the morning. When he went out in the morning, he saw a huge rat laying in a pool of blood. The animal was dead. Then he looked at the curtains and he saw that the cats that he had drawn have bloody mouths and they look kinda happy. So he realized that the cats came to life and then they defend him. There was another legend about heroic cat in Osaka. This cat lived in a family and one day it became really attached to its owner's daughter. And the owner wasn't really happy about it because he thought that the cat wanted to hurt his daughter. So he decided to kill the cat. But then the cat spoke to him, and the cat told him that he didn't want to hurt his daughter. He's just trying to protect her because a giant rat wanted to harm her. But the cat was worried. He didn't know if he can manage to defeat the rat by himself, so he asked his owner to go to the nearest city and get another cat, because in this next city there was a mighty warrior cat. So the guy was kind of surprised, but he didn't dispute his cat. I think when your cat is talking to you, you are too surprised to argue. So the guy went to the next village and he met the owner of this heroic cat and he told him what's going on. The other owner was also surprised, but he agreed to lend the cat. So the guy and the super cat came back and two cats started to hunt for the rat. So the cats started their hunting and the rat soon appeared. It was really enormous and it was a mighty opponent. Cats managed to win the fight, but they were exhausted and shortly after they sadly died. But the family was really grateful to them. They treated them like a part of their family and they buried them with honors. Another famous cat story takes place a long time ago in a soy sauce shop. The owner of this shop realized that sometimes at night the napkins disappeared. It was mysterious but not dangerous, so nobody really cared. But one night the shop owner went to do some job at night and he heard a music from a place where nobody was supposed to be. So he walked to this place and he looked inside. And then he saw something strange. There was a lot of cats and in the center there was his own cat with a napkin on its head, and this cat was dancing. The place where Kitty was dancing was called Odoriba, which means dancing place. And now there is a tower that is supposed to pacify the cat's spirits, and the station of Odoriba is also decorated with the motif of cats. Another well-known, although slightly different story is about a guy called Takasu Genbei. He noticed that his mom's personality completely changed when his pet cat went missing. But he didn't do anything with that. He just observed. The mom avoided company of her friends and family, and she also ate her meals in seclusion. One time, a family member picked at this mom, and he saw that it's not a mom, it's a cat-like monster dressed in the mom's clothes. Takasu wasn't convinced, but he agreed to kill what looked like his mom, and when he did that, her body quickly turned into his missing cat's corpse. Takasu then destroyed the floor in his mom's room, and he found her skeleton cleaned of all flesh. So what's the main difference between Bakeneko and Nekomata? Both of these cats can shapeshift, talk, and they like the taste of human's flesh. The easiest way to tell them apart is by their appearance. If you see a cat with split tail, it means that you meet Nekomata. Which kind, domestic or the one from the mountains? Well, the ones from the mountains are usually larger. They are also unfriendly towards people and they may harm them. They may hate them just because, or maybe they were once hurt by them. So if you hurt a kitty, don't do anything, because you deserve to be eaten. On the other hand, if you were always nice to cats, you might be in danger anyway. So what you can do? Try throwing food at Nekomata and then run fast. If you are a monk or a priest or shaman, you can try to banish them with a prayer, if you know one. But mostly just avoid mountains in Japan, and if you are already in the mountains, don't go near houses that look abandoned, or if you notice a house and you see that only women and children live there, don't go near this house also. When you meet a suspicious cat that it's not too big and its tail looks normal, it may mean that you are dealing with Bakeneko. Check out if this cat likes to lick a lamp oil, and if the answer is yes, then feed it a fish with some red azuki beans. You may also try this trick with Nekomata. But always, no matter which cat you encounter, be polite to them. Honestly, it isn't easy to distinguish Nekomata from Bakeneko and the other way around, but after listening to the stories, you may catch some subtle differences. Bakeneko are usually domestic cats that turned into yokai with age or due to some tragic event. They may be really loyal to their keepers, like these cats that avenged their ladies, or these cats that protected the boy from the rat. Cats who seem to appear from nowhere usually don't have good intentions, so we can safely assume that they are Nekomata. So if you take a stray cat into your home, just watch out for strange events. Cats that live in the mountain are Nekomata for sure. They may once be a domestic cat, but they are not that anymore, so don't go near them, don't try to pet them, but always be kind to them and never hurt a kitty. It will hurt you back. That's all for now. Thank you for joining me here. Thank you for staying with me till the end of this video. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, drop the comment, follow me on social media, and I hope I will see you soon. Bye!